Hey, this is Subspace Transmissions. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Cam.
Cam, we just watched the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, The Wolf Inside, and we got to I like that. We finally got to see the updated looks of the Andorians and the Tellarites, which we've actually been asking for... begging for ever since Discovery premiered. What do you think of this new look? Let's start with the Andorians all together, because I think this is the one that most fans are going to be seizing on here. I don't know, give us a mini review, Cam.
I was terrified of what they would do with the Andorians, because I love the Andorian look, which goes back to the original series, and they look so fantastic on that. Almost like you don't need to add a lot to make them great. And I was worried just because of what they did with the Klingons, which... I'm still a little iffy on visually. I love the characters, but, the visually it's a little iffy. I was worried what they do, and I really loved it. I thought they added accents where, it worked just for, a new kind of HD world for TV. It just made the Andorians look more alien, but they looked fantastic, and they evoked the classic Andorians.
Evoked as in the Klingon character?
Or both.
The other thing that is worth noting here, you and I, we went back and forth a lot on the podcast with regards to the antennae. Whether these were going to be practical, like we got to see in Enterprise as well as the original series, or else if, in 2018, these TV producers are going to go with CG antennae. How relieved were you that we got to see the practical stuff, the puppetry going on?
I underestimated the Discovery producers. I really thought they were going to do CG because, so much of the show is CG.
Right.
And I thought, it's just easier. They're going to go with that route. And they didn't. What did you think of these new Andorians?
No, the thing that popped out to me, the biggest change had to be, look at their eyebrows. It almost looks as if they have, like, a third and fourth antenna at this point, which is curious. It made me... arch my own eyebrow to a certain degree, but
It's very Spock-like.
very, very much so. You saw it happen in real time.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. It doesn't look as if they're just making changes for the sake of it. They're updating it. I think this should be, fans should be into it. It's just funny to think about where we met the Andorians in Journey to Babel and where we are right now with kind of this look. And it works for me. And I really actually love the kind of the rich blue colors here. Because if you think about, I think with Enterprise is more of kind of a baby bluish sort of thing, trying to evoke
which is more like the original series, which is a lighter blue.
But this blue works for me, and you can't go wrong with that badass white hair that they've got going for them. Yeah. What I need to see more, though, I did not see any women Andorians. It took a couple episodes of Enterprise until those were introduced, and by a couple, I think episode 2. Hopefully we'll get same amount of time lapse with regards to this next episode. Again, Andorians, we definitely need women Andorians.
Well, we were spoiled in Enterprise with the character of Shran, who introduced, sort of new Andorian characters. The original series, not great on Andorian characters. They were more like, they were figures. Well, they didn't really do a lot.
The first one was not even an Andorian. It was an Orion disguised as an Andorian.
Yes, so I'm hoping that Discovery is going to introduce some Andorian characters.
Well, Cam, why don't we segue on over to the Tellarites?
I'm hoping Discovery will introduce some Tellarite characters.
Because I think the biggest change here that we have for the Tellarites, though, are, of course, those tusks.
Yeah.
That made me... pause just a little bit. I brought up the fact that I don't think the changes to the Andorians were changes for the sake of that. I wonder, do you think it was to a certain degree with the tusks? I bring that up because we've never seen tusks on Tellarites, at least ones that were prominent that I can recall. What about you?
No, I'd agree. Like, these were definitely the most sort of warthog looking. They look like Bebop.
Sure.
From the Ninja Turtles. Although I wasn't
out of the shadows. Is that your go-to reference?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't as crazy about these Tellarites. Like, I think they're fine. I think they look like Tellarites. I think Enterprise is still the gold standard.
I agree. Yeah. And what was it about was it the fact that they took something that just looked cool from Journey to Babel, and we saw them a little bit in Gamesters of Triskelion, if I recall correctly.
Whom Gods Destroy.
Yeah, and so we got to see kind of this conventional look in the original series, updated in a real cool way on Enterprise. I think they're trying to figure out what can they really do to change it up for this, and I guess they came up with tusks, but beyond that, I don't know. I just hope we can get something that still stays true to the original intention, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem change for the sake of change.
Yeah, like what kind of bothers me about these versions, and I think they're fine, But the Tellarites were incredibly visually distinctive on the original series, and I think Enterprise kept that true. I don't know that I would say Discovery's Tellarites really pop off the screen.
Sure.
Like, they do look a little generic space alien.
Well, we
to me.
did have a guest on the show, and you have to listen to the podcast this week to find out who she admitted that they didn't really pop out to her. Like, she just thought it was, random alien. Whereas, like, the Andorians, you definitely have a very, kind of a visceral reaction to these very, very prominent aliens.
I'd be very curious to know, when we see the shot of the Andorian and the Tellarite on screen, how many people are actually looking at the Tellarite?
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like,
yeah. Kim, you also kind of compared this Tellarite look to another alien. What would you like to expand on that?
Yeah, it's funny because people freaked out a lot over the the redesign of the Klingons. More so than like the Into Darkness Klingons, which I think I actually liked less, but they were obviously more. They evoked, I guess, what people visually recognize as a Klingon more. But I thought the new Tellarites actually looked kind of like updated TNG Klingons.
Sure.
But with, the teeth.
But you know what? Maybe they were. Maybe this is kind of like something they had left over, and they're like, okay, this is not going to be the Klingon look, but maybe it could be transposed onto the Tellarites and make it go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I think we're kind of pleased with these updated looks. I think, what's the next alien you want to see appear on Star Trek Discovery?
That's easy. Orion. I really want to see the Orions on Discovery.
Is there really too much that they can do with the look of the Orions? Because it's kind of put on some green skin, and then what do you do from there?
I think they can you say right there, the skin. I think they can do things to now with, HD TV to make the skin just stand out as maybe a little more alien, as opposed to just like painting human skin green. I think they can maybe give it maybe a little bit of a mottled look or something. Just something a little bit different.
For me, it's got to be the Cardassians. I just wonder if that's going to be a species where they find themselves in a situation where they want to put too many accents on this very classic, very cool, very iconic look, or I just think all you need to do is just kind of go with what was already created with the very prominent kind of spoon head sort of motif there, as well as the ridged necks. I think it'd be hard to muck up the Cardassians, but those are the ones that I want to see most at this point.
For sure, yeah. I mean, do you think we will see Cardassians? I don't think so.
And I kind of hope we don't, because I think they're so, of DS9's reign, that's why bring the Cardassians in, especially since they weren't an alien that was established, at least for viewers, until the 24th century. So I'm down to stay away from the Cardassians, but if we get them, I don't know. At least I'll pop a smile, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.